student, welcome to the fifth lecture of valence bond theory. So in earlier lecture we have seen the assumptions, then the how the hybridization between the tetrahedral, square planar or octahedral complexes takes place. Okay, so uh, in today's lecture we will see how the hybridization in the octahedral complexes takes place. In earlier lecture we have seen the tetrahedral, square planar and then trigonal bipyramidal. Okay. So in today's lecture, we will see the octahedral complexes. What is the hybridization? Which type of orbitals are involved in the hybridization? So first, these are formed by either D2sp3 or sp3d2 hybridization of the metal atom or ion. So two types of hybridization are possible, that is D2sp3 or sp3d2. So whenever D2sp3 hybridization takes place, at that time the two d orbitals dx square minus y square and dz square of n minus 1 shell, 1s orbital of last shell, that is n, and 3p orbitals of again last shell of n take part in hybridization, and that is called as D2sp3 hybridization. Okay, so here is the example of octahedral complex in which D2sp3 hybridization takes place. So hexaamine cobalt complex is there, so in which the hybridization is D2sp3 takes place. So the first, now we will uh, design how the D2sp3 or sp3d2 hybridization is takes place in this molecule. So in this molecule, in this complex, D2sp3 hybridization is takes place. So first, to describe or to draw the its hybridization, the central metal atom is cobalt. So the atomic number of cobalt is 27. So and in this complex, atomic number of cobalt is 27. So the its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2 and 3d7. So this is the electronic configuration of the this complex metal which is present in this complex. Okay. Now in this complex, the oxidation state of the cobalt is +3. So what do you mean by the cobalt oxidation state is +3? That means it loses a 3 electron while forming a complex with the 6 ammonia molecules or hexaamine complex. So at that time it loses 3 electron. So when it loses 3 electron, its oxidation state will become +3, and so the electronic configuration of the when cobalt is in +3 oxidation state is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s0 and 3d6. So here you can see that the 3 electron it loses while forming a complex. At that time the 2 electrons are removed from the 4s. Here you can see it is 0, and when it is 3d7, here it is 3d6. So this is how the 2 electron from the s orbital and 1 electron from the d orbital is it loses while forming a complex, and so it is last shell or valence shell electron configuration is 4s0 3d6. So we will see how the hybridization is takes place. So we already see that cobalt, when it is a free atom or at a ground state, it has a 3d7 4s2 4p0 electronic configuration. But when the copper is +3 oxidation state, at that time it loses 2 electron from the this s orbital and 1 electron from this d orbital. Okay, so this is how the hybridization is takes place, or this is how the electronic distribution when it is cobalt in ground state 3 positive. So when cobalt 3 positive in excited state, at that time what will happen? The rearrangement or shifting of the electron takes place. That is, this electron will be paired with this electron and this with this electron. So this is how the pairing takes place, and there is a vacant empty orbital which is 3d orbital. 2d orbitals are vacant, then 1s and 3p. So the now cobalt when it is in +3 oxidation state, at that time 5 vacant atomic orbitals are available for the bonding purpose. So this 5 vacant orbital, so the 5, sorry, there are 6 vacant d orbitals are there, 2 from the d, 1 from 4s and 3 from the 4p. So total 6 vacant orbitals are there of the metal. So these vacant orbitals get overlap with the filled orbital, atomic orbital of the ligand. So ligand will donate the lone pair of electron and undergoes a hybridization, that is D2sp3 hybridization. So this is how the hexamine cobalt complex form. So this is how the, so here you can see all the electrons are paired. So these two d orbitals are used in the hybridization, then one s and 3p. So total hybridization is of the hexamine cobalt complex is D2sp3 hybridization. So in the four unpaired electrons in the ground state of cobalt 3 plus ion pair up in the excited state. So in earlier slide we have seen here the four, how many unpaired electrons are there? Four unpaired electrons. While it is in excited state, at that time these four electrons get paired up. So the four unpaired electrons in the ground state of cobalt 3 plus ion pair up in the excited state. Thus two vacant d orbitals are created. So there are two d vacant orbitals are created. So all the electrons are paired in the complex, hence it becomes diamagnetic. As we know, whenever complex having a single or unpaired electron, that means it is paramagnetic or it will get attracted towards the magnetic field. But whenever all the electrons are paired, that time the complex will become diamagnetic and it will get repelled by the magnetic field. So and again, when we calculate this Bohr magneton, the value will become 0 because it is diamagnetic. So the observed and calculated magnetic moment of the complex ion is 0. So the pairing energy is supplied by formation of 6 strong bonds in the complex. So the central metal ion undergoes D2sp3 hybridization and the complex ion takes octahedral geometry. So this is the uh, how the complex get formed, the D2sp3 hybridization, how it takes place, and how the complex is diamagnetic. Here in this case we have explained. Okay. Then again there is another example of D2sp3 hybridization, hexacyanoferrate ion. So here is a ion complex which is formed with the cyanide. So in this case, how the hybridization takes place, how to D2sp3 hybridization takes place. So very first, the first step is we should know the atomic number of the ion, and atomic number of the ion is 26, and its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d6. Now we know the atomic number, then also the electronic configuration. Now in this case, the oxidation state of ion is +3, because when we calculate the oxidation state, at that time we found that the oxidation state of ion is +3. So whenever it forms a complex with 6 cyanide ion, at that time the ion loses 3 electron. That means it loses 3 electron, or its oxidation state is +3. So its electronic configuration will become 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6. Now see here, the 4s0, in this case it is 4s2, while it is 3d5, here it is 3d6. That means it loses 2 electron from 4s2 orbital and 1 electron from the 3d orbital. So total 3 electron it loses while forming a complex, and hence its last valential electron configuration is 4s0, 3d5. Now, so how the electronic arrangement or electronic distribution is takes place, we will show here in the diagram. That is, ion atom at ground state, its electronic configuration is, see here, it is 3d6, 4s2. So it is the electronic configuration of the ion in which it is 3d6, 4s2. So now when Fe atom undergoes oxidation +3, at that time what happens, this 2 electron gets oxidized or removed from the, or it loses the 2 electron from the 4s2 and 1 electron from this d orbital. So these 5 electrons get, we get 5 unpaired electrons when Fe3 plus ion is in excited state. So next, when Fe3 plus ion in complex with the 6 cyanide ion, at that time what happens? The pairing takes place due to this strong ligand presence. Cyanide is there, and see here one ligand is there. Sorry, one unpaired electron is there. Okay, so whenever the hybridization is takes place. At that time you can see here two d orbitals are there, then 1s and 3p, so it is d2sp3. And again here in this structure we can see that this is the one unpaired electron, singly unpaired electron is present. So here you can see the 2d orbitals 1s and 3p orbitals undergoes mixing and recasting, or they having a different energy level in D, S and P. They undergoes mixing and recasting to generate a equivalent set of new hybrid orbitals, and that is D2sp3 hybridization. So all the six cyanide ligand donates the lone pair of electron and to form a coordinate bond and form a complex that is hexacyanoferrate 3 ion complex. So in this case you can see here one unpaired electron is there, and as we know, if there is one presence of unpaired electron, that means the compound will get paramagnetic nature or behavior. Okay, so the 5 unpaired electrons in the ground state of Fe3 plus ion try to pair up as much as possible in the excited state. So at the ground state, ion having 5 unpaired electrons, and I in the excited state of the Fe3 plus ion, this electron gets pair of as much as possible in the excited state. So we now the pairing is takes place. So two pairs are formed and two d orbitals are made vacant. Okay, and this leave the one unpaired electron in the one d orbital. So total 5 electrons are present in each orbital in each subshell. And then what happens when pairing takes place? At that time, the two pairs are formed and two d orbitals are made vacant, and along with the one single unpaired electron which is present in the d orbital. So the calculated magnetic moment for one unpaired electron is 1.73 Bohr magneton, and you know the formula, that is square root of n plus 2. This is the formula which is used, n plus 2, where n is equal to number of unpaired electrons. So when we solve, put the value n is equal to 1, at that time we get the value 1.73. But observed magnetic moment of the complex ion is 2.3 Bohr magneton. Okay, here is some difference is there, that calculated Bohr magnetic moment is electronic magnetic moment is 1.73, but observed is 2.73 Bohr magneton. So there is a okay, so this shows that some factor other than spin only moment contribute to the total magnetic moment of the complex ion. So here you can conclude it that the observed and calculated magnetic moment, there is a difference. Okay, so they are not approximate equal, or these values are not matchable. Okay, so why this difference is there? So there is maybe the some other factor other than the spin only moment contribute to the total magnetic moment of the complex ion. The central at in this example, or in this complex, the central metal ion undergoes D2sp3 hybridization, and the complex ion takes again octahedral geometry. And here are some other examples in which D2sp3 hybridization takes place. Whether some metal, manganese with cyanide, chromium with hexamine, then again chromium with cyanide, cobalt with cyanide, or chromium with carbonate. So these are some other example in which D2sp3 hybridization takes place along with the octahedral geometry. So next one we will see. So till we see the D2sp3 hybridization. So now we will see sp3 D2 hybridization. So in this D2sp3 sp3 D2 hybridization, when one s 3p and 2d orbitals dx square minus y square and dz square orbital of same shell, that is the large shell, take part in hybridization, it is known as sp3 D2 hybridization. So here there is a difference between earlier we see D2sp3 in which n minus 1 shells were of the d orbital were take part. Okay, but here what happened, when one s 3p and 2d orbitals dx square minus y square and z square of the same shell, that is the last shell, take part in hybridization, it is known as sp3 D2 hybridization. So here the explanation A bonding for some octahedral complexes can be given in similar way, but the central ion in these complexes undergoes sp3 hybridization instead of D2 sp3 hybridization and keeps the same number of unpaired electron as in free ion. The sp3 D2 complexes have the same geometry as that of D2 sp3 complexes. So that means we will get sp3 D2 or D2 sp3, but at that time the geometry of the complex should be same. Okay, octahedral or octahedral. Whether it is hybridization is D2 sp3 or sp3 D2, but only the difference between the d orbitals use. Okay, whenever the D2 sp3 hybridization takes place, at that time n minus 1 shell were used of the d orbital of that metal, but whenever sp3 D2 hybridization is takes place, at that time the last shell take part in hybridization is the same shell. Okay, so now we will see the some other example of the sp3 D2. So here is the hybridization of hexafluoroferrate 3 ion FeF6 3 minus. So as we see the spectrochemical series in which the strong ligand is there, that means there is a formation of D2sp3 or uh, DsP2 or square planar or octahedral or D2sp3 type complexes were generally formed by the strong ligands, whereas this sp3d2 hybridized complex was prepared by the weak ligands. Okay, so see here FeF6 3 minus, that is hexafluoroferrate 3 ion complex. So we will see how the hybridization is takes place. So we know the atomic number of ion, that is 26, and its electronic configuration is 1s2 2s2 2p6 3s2 3p6 4s2 3d6. So this is the electronic configuration of the ion. So now we know the oxidation state of Fe. So oxidation state of Fe is plus, here in this case it is plus 3, because the ion is attached with the 3 fluorine ligands, and each fluorine carries minus 1 charge. So the whenever in this complex Fe loses how many electrons? 3 electrons, that is its oxidation state is 3. So its electronic configuration will become 1s2 2s2 2p6 3s2 3p6. Okay, up to this it is same as it is in the ground state. Okay, 3p6. Now change in the 4s and 3d. See here what happened, the 2 electrons which is present in 4s orbital, it loses while forming a complex and 1 electron from the d orbital. So the electronic configuration of the last shell is 4s0 3d 5. So the how the electron is distributed at the ground state level in the d orbital of the Fe atom. So see here you can see this 4s2, this 2 electron is there, and then 3d6, there's 6 electron present in the d orbital. When Fe atom is in plus 3 oxidation state, at that time what happen? It loses 2 electron from the 4s and 1 electron from the d orbital, and the electronic configuration will become 3d5 4s0 4p0 4d0. So this is how the hybridization is takes place while sp3d2 hybridization. Okay, so now in this complex FeF6 3 3 minus ion involving sp3d2 hybridization. So see here in this complex we can see, while for hybridization sp3d2 we will see 5 unpaired electron present in this complex. See here, so these electron were not pair up due to the weak, because of the sufficient energy is not provided for the pairing, or these fluorine atoms are weak ligand compared to the carbonyl cyanide. These fluorine atoms are weak ligand, so they will not provide the sufficient energy for the pairing up, and so in this complex sp3d2 hybridization is takes place, and we will get here 5 unpaired electrons. So here you can see one s orbital, then 3p orbital, and then again 2d orbital of the same shape. See here 4s 4p and 4d. So here hybridization takes place is sp3d2. Okay, so the magnetic studies of this ion has shown that this ion has 5 unpaired electrons. So n is equal to 5. So the complex is highly paramagnetic. As we know, if the any complex having a unpaired electron, the compound or complex is paramagnetic. But see here, in this case, how many unpaired electrons are there? 5. In sp3d2, the hybridization, the unpaired electrons are 5. So this complex is highly paramagnetic and the complex is octahedral in shape. Okay, there is no change in shape, but only the hybridization is changed. So there is a either they are paramagnetic or diamagnetic. That concept is also changed. So now again we will see another example of the nickel. So hexaamine nickel complex plus 2 oxidation state of the nickel in this complex. So we know the atomic number of nickel is 28. So its electronic configuration at the ground state is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d8 is the electronic configuration at the ground state level. So when now we know the oxidation state of nickel in this complex is plus 2 because it attach or ammonia donate the lone pair of electron, but ammonia having a no charge, that is it is a neutral. So whatever the charge on the complex, that is the oxidation state of the central metal ion. So nickel is in plus 2 oxidation state. So its electronic configuration at the ground state level is, you can see here that 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s0, 3d. That means it loses 2 electron from the 4s orbital while forming a complex. So it loses 2 electron. So the this is the electronic configuration of the nickel atom at the ground state. See here, you can see that 3d8, 4s2. So see this, whenever nickel undergoes excited state, that is Ni2 plus, at that time it loses 2 electron from the 4s orbital. So here is a 2 unpaired electron we can see. So now what happens when nickel undergoes hybridization with 6 ammonia ligands? At that time what happened? The 4s, 3 4p orbital and 2d 4d orbitals were vacant or available for the hybridization. So these 6 atomic orbitals, empty orbitals of the nickel undergoes hybridization, and the ammonia molecule donate the lone pair of electron in this vacant atomic orbitals of the metal, and there is a formation of this type of complex NiNH3 positive, where we can see that there is a presence of 2 unpaired electron. Okay, here you can see the 2 unpaired electron because there is a no bond, no pairing takes place. So the these 6 ammonia molecules donate the lone pair of electron to this complex, and there is a formation of NiNH3 2 positive complex. So this is how the sp3d2 hybridization is also takes place in NiNH3 2 positive. Here we can find out that the how many unpaired electrons are there? There are 2 unpaired electrons in the free Ni2 plus ion. So also 2 unpaired electrons in the NiNH3 2 plus complex ion. So we found that there are presence of 2 unpaired electrons that leads to the complex is paramagnetic. Okay, so this is how we can uh, find out whether electrons are paramagnetic, singly occupied, unpaired or paired. Okay, so the observed magnetic moment suggests that presence of 2 unpaired electron in this complex. So this is well in accordance with the hybridization as well as its magnetic moment. Okay, so the complex ion is again in octahedral in shape. Okay, there is no change in the shape whether it is D2sp3 hybridized or sp3 D2 hybridization. In both cases, the complex ion shape is octahedral. Okay, so here is an example of the few examples in which sp3 D2 hybridization takes place. COF63 minus FeNH3 positive, hexaaqua chromium complex or hexaamine zinc complex. So these are the examples in which sp3 D2 hybridization is takes place. So this is how the hybridization or the complex formation uh, formed on the basis of Pauling's valence bond theory. But uh, there are still some limitations. Okay, we have seen the assumption, how the atomic orbitals are required, how the bonds were formed, so how the magnetic properties are explained on the basis of PPT. But still there are some lacunas or some limitations in the valence bond theory. So we will see one by one. So uh, limitation is it cannot explain why certain complexes are more labile than others. Okay, it is not explained why certain complexes are more labile than others. Then VBT valence bond theory assume that all the d orbitals are of equal energy. It does not consider the splitting of the d energy levels. So we know the d orbitals are splitted into the T2g and Eg set. Okay, and we know Eg set having more energy compared to the T2g. But according to the valence bond theory, it considered that all the d orbitals are of equal energy. So this is one of the limitation of valence bond theory. So it does not consider the splitting of d energy levels. So it does not account for the relative energy of different structures. It also does not account for the relative energies of different structure. It does not give us any satisfactory reason of formation of inner orbital and outer orbital complexes. Why in some complexes sp3d2 hybridization is takes place, or why in some complexes d2 sp3 hybridization is takes place. This is also is not explained by the valence bond theory. Again, why tetrahedral complexes are formed, why square planar complexes are formed, or why inner orbital or outer orbital complex formed. This is also well not explained by the valence bond theory. So this theory does not predict the magnetic behavior of complexes. This theory only predicts the number of unpaired electron. So this theory will not predict the magnetic behavior of the complexes. What it shows or predict the only the how many unpaired electrons are there. It is what only this theory predicted. Again, very important about the coloration. So valence bond theory cannot interpret the spectra color of the complexes. Okay, valence bond theory cannot interpret the spectra or color of the complexes. It does not tell us why water and halide ions commonly form high spin complexes while cyanide ion form low spin complexes. So according to the spectrochemical series, as we know, but in valence bond theory, why it does not explain why water and halide ions commonly generally form high spin complexes. High spin complexes generally in which pairing is not takes place. While cyanide ion or cyanide ligand is there, that time low spin complexes form, that means pairing takes place. For example, why NiCl4 2 minus is a high spin complex with tetrahedral geometry, and NiCN4 2 minus is a low spin complex with square planar geometry. So this is also is not explained by why the tetrahedral geometry, why square planar, why so in some complexes D2 sp3 hybridization takes place, and in other cases it is sp3 D2 hybridization. So this is also the not explained by the valence bond theory. So these are the some of the limitations of valence bond theory. So we will see uh, in next lecture what is inner orbital complexes and outer orbital complexes, how they were the form, and what is their hybridization. Okay, so thank you.